Hello and welcome to ICANN Media. I'm your host, Rob Hislop. Joining us right now is Richard Bucher with Right Management. Richard, you're here at the Global Petroleum Show, and tell us about the session that you just had.
We're talking about repurposing your skill set. So there's a lot of professionals at the moment who are in oil and gas looking down the reality of there not being a job for them in the time frame they have to land one. This is a money question often. And so how do they take those skills that they have, engineering, geology, land, whatever it might be, and look for opportunities in a sector that's not oil and gas related?
So what would be the first step that you would recommend people do?
Well, first I'll acknowledge the skills that you do have and engage with people who work in sectors other than the one you're in, so the sector you're interested in. So for example, if I'm interested in looking at the construction sector or the midstream sector, I want to be talking to people who are in similar roles to mine and talking about the key competencies that are required, the kind of experience they require, the kind of education, training, that kind of thing. Looking for synergies and looking for gaps.
You mentioned the trained professionals as well, but I mean, there's a lot of people that are more on the laboring side in the industry. What would you recommend to them?
Frankly, I would see lots of opportunities for them because the kind of skill set that you would have in a labor capacity and light and non-skilled labor would transcend industries. There's lots of them. So for example, you look at what's happening in Fort McMurray and thankfully things seem to be turning to their favor after all these weeks. 80% of the work that needs to be done to reconstruct that city is going to be done by locals, I understand, but 20% will be coming from someplace else. So people that are laborers and light-skilled to tradespeople who will be required in that market. And they don't live in Fort McMurray. They're going to have to come from someplace else. We've heard that there's infrastructure money coming from Ottawa and from the provincial government, and that it's going to be working on construction kinds of projects. So those would be the kinds of things I'd be getting curious about where might my skills be required and where might they transition. There's going to be more work than there are people to do it. So my job is to figure out, well, who's working in that sector that might be able to give me some information about what I need to look like.
How would you recommend that people go about tracking down those who are doing the hiring? Because today a lot of the hiring is done over the internet, or at least, getting people in for interviews and that sort of thing. It's difficult to separate yourself from the pack.
Well, the perception is a lot of hiring is done over the internet. Man, that's a big black hole. I have talked to, every week, people have applied for 300 positions, 200 positions, 100 positions, no interviews. So if your focus is in the internet and job search that way, man, you better have a ton of money because you're not likely going to land very quickly. I would be going to the people that I know. So if my kid plays soccer, who are the other parents on the team? Let's say, hello, how are you? If I have a kid in daycare, who are the other parents? Get to meet them. Who do I know that can help me with this, which is Richard's mantra. When I've got faced with a question like you've posed, the first thing I ask is, who do I know that can help me answer that question? Who have I worked for? Who have I met? Past colleagues, former bosses, references, people I play hockey with, people where the guy I bought my truck from, my financial advisor. Who are the people that I know that can connect me to people that have answers to the questions we're talking about?
So if you were finding yourself out of work, or it looks like you might be out of work shortly in the oil industry, what's the first thing that you do then?
I'd build a list of the people that I know. I'd start thinking about what is the work that I want to be doing next. I would begin looking at building my marketing collateral, so getting my resume ready. I would begin updating my LinkedIn profile and start looking at, who do I know? When was the last time, for example, that I've connected to anybody that's in LinkedIn? If I'm not in LinkedIn and I don't know anything about it, then I'm going to be looking for people to help me build a LinkedIn profile so I can expand my reach beyond the market that I happen to live in.
Would you be optimistic that you'd be able to find something relatively quick?
I'd be determined. Because I'm going to have tough days. I'm going to have days when I'm wondering, is this ever going to end? And other days where I think I've just had 2 really good coffee meetings and holy cow, this is awesome. And it's going to be up and down. So I want to have people that I can connect with and people that I can do a download on if I've had a really tough day, people that I can turn to for ideas to say, hey, I'm stumped, I've tried everything I know, I don't know what to do next. I have people reaching out to me to say, okay, you seem to have some thoughts and ideas. point me in a direction. Who do I know? Who do you know that I could talk to? So always, who can help me with this problem?
You mentioned people reaching out to you. There's people lined up to talk to you right now. And are these people that are in similar situations wondering where they're going to go next?
They absolutely are. Now, some know, but some are also facing an impasse. So they're looking at a market that's not very welcoming at the moment. You know, a year and a half ago, people were taking 2 to 5 months to land. Now they're taking 6 to 9 months to land. And if it's a senior level role, it's taking 12 to 18 months to land. So, I mean, you need to be careful about finances and manage that part of it for sure, but you also need to be aware that this is going to be a longer term play. It's probably going to take a little longer, and you're going to have to exploit things that you hadn't looked at before. Traditional applying for posted positions, I don't think is enough.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
You're watching ICANN Media, coming to you from the Global Petroleum Show in Calgary.